Hi guys! Oh my goodness, can you believe it? We're on our very last video of Because of Mr. Terupt. I can't even believe that we're at the very final part of this story. And we are in the month of June. So it's the end of the school year. And we're going to go ahead, my friends, and we're going to see what happens with room 202. If you're ready, let's go ahead and dive in. We'll start with Jessica. Final act, scene 1. Welcome to the last day of school, where there's music and movies and games, singing and laughing and smiles all around. Cakes and cookies and fun for everyone. At least, that's what the last day of school is supposed to encompass. Ours didn't. Crying wasn't anything I had ever experienced on the last day of school, but crying was what I felt like doing, and I know I wasn't the only one. We had held tremendous hope for our teacher to be with us by the end of the school year. But he wasn't. I kept wondering about the Mr. Terupt I don't know. I've thought a lot about it since that day in the waiting room. Everyone likes Mr. Terupt, but nobody's that close to him, except for Miss Newberry. But she even said she hopes to get closer. Part of me thinks it's not just him that we're all concerned about, but us too, because they know we're the ones who are really close to him. But how can I even say that or think that when I don't even truly know him? Maybe it's because it doesn't matter how well we know him. We love him. I haven't talked to anyone else about this, not even my mom. I want to, but what's the point? He's not here. Mr. Terupt didn't make it. Alexa. I went to see Teach last week and the nurses said they were doing something and that I had to come back. I was mad, but I didn't really think anything was up. Now I'm beginning to wonder if maybe something's going on. Mrs. Williams and Miss Newberry are definitely acting strange. Mrs. Williams is way too perky right now, humming to herself and talking with silent nods to Miss Newberry, who's been poking her head into our classroom one too many times today. I'm beginning to wonder if Teach woke up and how they keeping a really big secret so they can surprise us. I'm telling you, something's up. Danielle. Dear God, I don't want to be mad at you, but I am. You haven't listened to my prayers. If you had, Mr. Terupt would be here. We need him. Why didn't you give him back to us? Anna. Mrs. Williams makes me mad. Our whole class is feeling terrible, except for her. She seems happy, walking around with that bounce in her step. I even heard her humming at one point, but she quickly stopped when she realized I had noticed. Is she really that happy to get this year over with? Then the thought hit me. Does she know something that we don't? Luke. No Mr. Terupt. Suddenly, things changed drastically for me. I'd kept believing that he was hurt badly and he would recover, but now that the year is over, the thought of him not making it seems very real. I'm scared. Jeffrey. I don't know what's going on with Mrs. Williams, but I want to punch her. This is the worst day of the year, and I see her wink at Anna. What's the matter with you? I want to scream at her. I don't care if she's the principal. In case you noticed, Mr. Terupt is going to die. I want to yell at her too, but I keep all my anger inside. Don't you dare wink at me, lady. Jessica. Final act, scene 2. All day long, I fought back tears, and now the tears streamed down my face. I couldn't believe it. Mr. Terupt made it. He was here. He was okay. We rushed out of our seats, our bodies pressed together in a giant class hug. I missed you, he said. We missed you too, we shouted. I love you guys, he said, bending down to our level. He looked at each one of us and hugged us one by one. He hugged me. I love you, Mr. Terupt, I said. The words danced out of my mouth. I love you too, Jessica. We hugged some more, and then Mr. Terupt spotted Peter. Peter hadn't been part of our hug. He was still sitting in his seat, probably too scared to move, too frightened to think about what Mr. Terupt might do or say to him. Mr. Terupt stood up and walked over to Peter. We watched, and he taught us like he did every day we were with him. He showed us how to forgive. Luke. Mrs. Williams spoke up. Boys and girls, I do have one other announcement. before I leave you with your teacher." She smiled. "The school board has decided that next year will be an experimental year. We're going to try looping in one classroom." "What's that?" Anna asked. "Looping is when a teacher and the class move on to the next grade together," Mrs. Williams said. It got quiet fast, real quiet, like hold your breath quiet. Was everybody wondering the same thing? I looked around. Jessica smiled and nodded at me. "Boys and girls, next year, your class will be looping," Mrs. Williams said. "With Mr. Terupt?" Anna asked. "Yes," Mr. Terupt answered. We jumped and screamed and hooted and hollered. I saw Mrs. Williams heading toward the door, and I ran over to her. "Mrs. Williams," I said as she was about to leave. She turned around. "Yes, Luke?" "Thank you," I said. Then I felt a sudden quietness behind me. The rest of the class stopped and took notice of Mrs. Williams. "Thank you, Mrs. Williams," voices called. She looked at Mr. Terupt. I was close enough to hear her say, "There's magic in this room with you here, Mr. Terupt. Magic." She hugged him and left. Lexi. Teach made it. He showed up on the last day with no warning. It was the biggest surprise ever. Everyone ran over and hugged him. Then Teach went over and hugged Peter. I liked Teach so much when he did that. It made me think of the day that he took me out into the hall. Teach knew how to be nice. He didn't say one thing and do another, not Teach. After things calmed down, I went up to him. "I've been being nice now, Teach," I said. "You'd be proud." "You've always been nice, Lex," he said. "You're just figuring out now how to show it. But you're right. I'm very proud of you." "I can't wait till next year," I said. "I can't wait either. I've missed you." Then I hugged Teach again. "I love you, Teach," I said. "I love you too." So now it's wait till next year. And I can't. Jeffrey. Sometimes school can actually be great. And next year's going to be just that, because Terupt's back. I didn't think he was going to make it. I thought he was going to die, like Michael did. I tried to help Michael, and it didn't work. I didn't know if I had helped Terupt at all, but he made it. I ran and got help when he fell down in the snow. I ran inside and got the nurse, and I made the 911 call and got Mrs. Williams. I did that. Was that enough? I watched Terupt hug Peter. He didn't blame anyone. Jessica told me that it wasn't my fault that Michael died. Maybe you just do the best you can because you can't control what happens in the end. I guess it's okay to hope for things. Sometimes it works out. Slowly, I'm getting my mom and my dad back. There's still silence between us, but it's really not that bad anymore, though they still don't talk to each other very much. Mom is out of her PJs, but never out of the house. That's okay for now. She's starting to try to get better, like me and Dad. I hope things get better between them. I miss my brother, but I'm real glad we got Terupt back. And I think I found some reason for all of this. And never ever would have been the one to break the silence between me and Mom and me and my dad if it weren't for Terupt's accident. I wanted so bad to tell him how much I loved him, and I didn't know if I was ever going to get the chance when he was in that coma. And now that was when I knew I didn't want to miss the chance with my parents. So I broke the silence. I'm glad to. I'm happy. Anna. The last day turned out to be a great one. Mr. Terupt made it. I've never felt so happy. My throat, my heart, my belly, they all burned with happiness and probably relief too. And then we found out about this looping thing, and I felt the good hurt inside all over again. Bus 9 is now loading. The call came over the speakers. "See you soon, Mr. Terupt," I said. I ran over and gave him another quick hug. "Have a good summer." "You too, Anna," he said. "And Mr. Terupt?" I looked up at him and he looked down at me. "I think Miss Newberry might have the hots for you, just in case you're interested." I smiled. He smiled back. "Matchmaker Anna. Thanks for the tip." "Bus 9, last call for Bus 9, the loudspeaker announced. I hurried out of room 202 with my head held high. I never made it to Bus 9, though. I got downstairs to the lobby and ran into Mom And Charlie? Hey, kiddo, Charlie said. Hi, guys, I said. Are you here to pick up Danielle, too? She's still upstairs. I barely got those words out of my mouth before I saw the answer to my question. Danielle's mother walked into the lobby. She spotted us right away. Hi, Mrs. Roberts, I said, finding no small amount of courage. Would you like me to go upstairs and get Danielle for you? Not needed. Danielle came through the stairwell door and entered the lobby. She took a second look at everyone. Then she and I exchanged a knowing glance, bracing ourselves for whatever came next. There would be no disappointments on this day. It was a day of happiness and celebration. Hi, Mrs. Roberts, Mom said, offering her hand to shake. I'm Terry Adams, and this is my daughter, Anna. We didn't meet properly at the hospital. We'd love to have you and Danielle come over this afternoon, maybe for a cup of coffee or tea and some hangout time for the girls. The ball lay in Mrs. Roberts' court now. I let my breath out when I saw her shake my mom's hand. Please, call me Susan, she said. Danielle and I would be happy to come over. She glanced at Danielle, who nodded excitedly, but without hiding the shock on her face. Then Mrs. Roberts looked at Charlie. Mr. Terupt came into the lobby at some point during all of this and gave Danielle and me a big thumbs-up sign. It was as if he knew the whole story. Did he? We waved goodbye to the best teacher in the whole wide world. Danielle. It started with an old friend, Lexi, who wasn't really a friend. In came this new girl, Jessica, whom I liked but was told not to like. Somewhere in between, I became friends with Anna. We worked with a collaborative classroom and had this huge Ramadan project. And that old friend, who I figured out wasn't my friend at all, was kind in her own. I had Jessica and Anna. Then the accident happened. While Jeffrey ran for help, I held Mr. Terupt's head, putting my hat and coat under it so that he wasn't lying in the cold snow. I went to visit Mr. Terupt in the hospital with Jessica and Anna and found an old friend there. Alexa was Lexi again, except new and improved. James left, but he made us see Peter again. And then we played the wait-and-see game until today. Today, Mr. Terupt came back. And then we found out he were looping with him and we get to have a whole nother year again with him next year. I can't wait to tell Grandma the good news. She's the one who helped me with all these things when they got tough, and she said a lot of prayers for us. I don't think I'll tell Grandma about the end of the day news, though. I'll leave that up to Mom. I just wish Anna a great summer and watched her head to the classroom to catch her bus with Mr. Terupt. When he said, Danielle, I see your mother walking across the parking lot. He was looking out our window. She must be here to pick you up. Okay, thanks, I said. I grabbed my stuff. Have a great summer. I can't wait for the fall. Bye, Danielle, he said. I ran over and hugged him once more. I'm so glad you're back, I told him. I let go and looked into his face, then hurried downstairs. I got down to the lobby and saw everyone. Mom, Charlie, Anna, Terry. Was Charlie with Mom or with Terry? Oh boy, I thought. But things worked out. Mom shook Terry's hand and accepted her invitation for coffee. Mom looked at Charlie after, but didn't say anything or make any sort of face. She was going to try really hard for us. As we were leaving, Mr. Terupt gave us a thumbs up sign. How long had he been watching? How much did he know? Dear God, it's Danielle down here, full of love. Thanks for giving me my teacher back, and again for next year. And thanks for helping my mom give Terry and Anna a chance. Maybe now you can start to work on Grandma. She's going to be a lot tougher to persuade. Amen. P.S. I'm sorry I got mad at you. Peter. Out of nowhere, I heard the screams. Mr. Terupt! Everyone around me jumped up and ran to the door. I couldn't believe it. Mr. T was back. I started crying. Mr. T was alive, and he was here. I stayed in my seat trying to look small. But he spotted me. The room grew quiet and Mr. T walked toward me. I was scared again. Mr. T got down on his knees and looked directly into my eyes. Then came the best hug I've ever felt. Mr. T wrapped his arms around me and gave me a squeeze. I squeezed him back as tight as I could. My body shook and I sniffed my snotty nose. It's okay, Peter, he whispered in my ear. I forgive you. Suddenly, I felt lighter. a lot lighter. Jessica. Final act, final scene. I've realized something. It's not California I long for anymore, or even Dad. It's 6th grade and another year with Mr. Terupt. I want to ask him about his family and tell him to let Miss Newberry get close because she truly cares about him, but now's not the time. There will be lots of opportunities for that when school starts up again. I need to enjoy this curtain call. I've read a lot of books, but I think ours is the greatest story, and I know Mr. Terupt would agree. It's a happy ending. Luke. I remember thinking, 6th grade. We're going to be 6th graders, and Mr. Terupt is going to be my teacher, our teacher. I thought of Mrs. Williams' word, magic. I looked at Mr. Terupt sitting with some of my classmates, and I thought, she's right. There will be magic. He's my teacher, the word man. Terupt. Dollar word. Oh my goodness, my friends. I hope that you enjoyed our story. I hope you were able to tune in every day and to follow along. Our story has come to an end, and I hope you've loved it. If you've enjoyed it, believe it or not, this is the first book in a series of books. And so there are more stories with Mr. Terupt, and you can follow the kids in room 202. And I wish I had them here that I could continue reading them to you, but they're not in my bookshelf over here. But I hope that you really enjoyed it and you're able to continue on. I absolutely adored reading this book with you, and I cannot wait for us to jump into our next story. Oh, I was fighting back some tears there. My heart feels really warm and good. I hope you have a lovely evening. I miss you all so, so much. Like Mr. Terupt and the students reuniting after the hospital break, I want to tell you all that I miss you so much. I miss being able to see you and laugh with you and tell corny jokes and just be goofy in the classroom. I miss being able to read with you face to face. I miss doing our different algebraic expressions in math and solving for variables. I miss you all so much. I cannot wait to check in with you again soon, and keep your eyes on your inbox because you got some special messages coming your way this week. Bye, you guys. Love you all. I'll talk to you later.